Happy Christmas. It's Christmas. Merry Crisis. Merry Chrysler.
Have a homely, jolly Christmas. I've recorded this intro about 3 times just because the audio on my mic was fucked up. And to be honest, I want to Kris Kringle myself. But, you know, things happen.
You're a mean one.
Happy holiday, plebeians. I just found out about that word and I want to use it more because it's funny. Anyway, the holidays are literally my favorite time of the year. Like probably the only holiday I was excited to celebrate growing up as a kid. Not because of the gift aspect of it, but just because of the vibe and the energy it brings. Like it fills me with joy and happiness to see lights and decorations put up. And I just want to rage and go out in the street and revolt. What? Like seeing stores put up Christmas decorations and like being in school and like drinking hot chocolate and watching the Polar Express, even though the classroom smelled like piss and hot chocolate and the loud blaring of the Polar Express, it still filled me up with so much joy as a kid. And like every time around this year, I see TikTok captivating what it felt like to be a kid in the early 2000s around this time of year. And boy, do I miss that feeling so much.
From now on, our troubles will be miles away.
What's crazy is that as an adult, I'll probably never be able to get that feeling ever again. Quick tidbit to all my Gen Zers who are like being teachers or trying to be teachers. Don't take this away from kids, please. Like let them have their hot chocolate and their really bad sugar cookies and their nasty candy canes while you watch the Polar Express while sitting at your desk or on the floor. Because I feel like when kids go through that, they experience Christmas a whole lot different when they get older and they just love it 10 times more. That's just me personally. Anyway, back to the bullshit. I mentioned Polar Express being one of my movies that I watched as a kid, but it wasn't until I got older that I found out the amount of Christmas movies that actually exist that are banger. I'm gonna run on a quick list of Christmas movies that I really enjoy that just like are 10 out of 10s. You have to watch these every single year or it's not a good Christmas. And because I'm a sucker for holidays, I want to count down with the on the 3rd day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a real in a pear tree. Anyway. If you haven't seen Elf, what the fuck are you doing? It stars Will Ferrell, Tyrion Lannister, Katy Perry, and the nigga from Iron Man that likes cooking with famous people and shit. Now, the movie is about Will Ferrell, who is an elf, but he's not really an elf. He's just a orphaned human who was dropped off at the North Pole and has to go to New York to find his biological father to reunite and have a good Christmas. It is one of, if not the most entertaining Christmas movies to ever exist. And I remember being a kid and watching him make that weird-ass chocolate spaghetti Pop-Tart bullshit, and it looked so goddamn good. It's big back activities, I know, shut the fuck up. But my opinion, good ass movie, 7 out of 10.
I know it's a magic train. Actually, it's a Baldwin 284 S3 class Berkshire type steam locomotive. Built in 1931 as a Baldwin locomotive.
The fact that at one point I was praying that Tom Hanks would fly through my window and ask me to take a ride on a big fat magical train to meet a big fat man, even though I knew that nigga was not even real, that's just like, I mean, he's real. He's real. That's basically the gist of like Polar Express. The movie stars Tom Hanks, Harry Potter without glasses, A$AP Rocky, and yeah, that's just the rest of the cast, for real. It's a good movie and I watched it like literally every year in school. It's 8 out of 10 for me just based on nostalgia.
Smearensburg, which is on an island which is surrounded by water, which I need a boat to get to, which you have. Are we starting to connect the dots? After
a rich-ass, snobby-ass asshole fails in mailman school, the thing, apparently, he gets dumped into this sad-ass town where he has to establish a post office and delivers 6,000 letters by the end of the year, otherwise, no more daddy's money. The kicker of this story is that in this old-ass town, there's this old-ass hermit toy maker man who just likes to make toys and be by himself. The movie is kind of actually well-known, but it's also an underrated masterpiece. Shut the fuck up, I said what I said. It stars Omni-Man and Perkins and whoever the fuck this is. Upon further research, I found out that this is the guy that played the Spot in the Spider-Verse movie, which is also a banger ass movie. Go watch that shit too. It is, in my opinion, a really good movie that I found just accidentally, and it's a 10 out of 10. You have to watch this fucking movie. The last movie on this list is something that my wife showed me, and it's a banger. It's called A Year Without Santa Claus. And hear me out. What if Santa got COVID. So with only a couple days before Christmas, El Nino Jesus decided to catch a cold and also not do the only job he's supposed to do and ends up canceling Christmas. So that's fun. Mrs. Claus thinks that she can convince him that the holiday spirit isn't really dead and that would help him get better to continue Christmas. Yo, I'll be damned if my boss called me while I was coughing up a fucking lung and was like,
hey, I know you're dying right now, but like, you're like a really hard worker and like, you're just so good at your job. Doesn't that make you feel better to like come in?
someone would be dying that day. Anyway, she asks two elves named Jingle and Jangle. She ends up getting help from two elves named Jingle and Jangle to gather proof and evidence that Christmas isn't really dead and that Christmas truly actually needs Santa Claus. It's honestly a really wholesome movie and I love it so much. This is another 10 out of 10 for me, just on the fact alone that it's very fucking wholesome. I can truly keep going on the amount of Christmas movies that I've seen that are just banger after banger after banger. My cat. But today, something about this movie f***ed me up as a kid. Maybe it's the fact that they made a snowman look so goddamn terrifying, or just the fact that it was alive and breathing and sentient, and I was just like, not for me. The movie was made on a $85 million budget and only grossed literally $7 million. And just after a while, it went to only gross only about $35 million just in North America alone. So it's safe to say that this movie flopped hard as shit. I'm not gonna lie, it was a fever dream for me. So like, I don't remember a lot. So I'm done fucking postponing the inevitable here. And we're gonna get into what I think, in my opinion, is the most terrifying Christmas movie of all time, Jack Frost. The movie starts off at a concert where we meet our first main character, Jack Frost, who is played by Michael Keaton of all people, and I didn't remember that shit at all. So hell yeah, big W. Ironically, him and his band are performing a cover of Frosty the Snowman, and not gonna lie, shit kinda slaps.
Frosty the Snowman was as bad as he could be, and the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me.
He's an aspiring musician who's trying to land a record deal by performing covers that him and his band performs. We then cut to a schoolyard where it's now officially Christmas vacation and school is letting out. We then meet our second main character, who is Charlie, and that's Jack's son. I feel like calling what I'm about to explain to you a snowball fight doesn't do it justice, because this is literally D-Day. Like, I can't stress enough, they even add war music in the background of this goddamn snowball war, and it's insane. Like at one point, Charlie has to save a little kid who is being decimated by snowballs by the neighborhood bully. It's like they hone this shit in hard as hell. Can't make this shit up. Oh, also Charlie and the bully got some beef. So, villain. Anyway, Charlie goes home to his mom, and of course, Jack isn't home yet. So then they just kind of have a good time, and he ends up falling asleep. Jack immediately comes home, and you get the vibe that this is actually a really happy and healthy family. I was 100% expecting Jack to be a washed-up musician who was just like never home and always away, but he's like a loving and caring father and husband, and I was like, oh, this is, my opinions on this movie has drastically changed. What the fuck is going on? Maybe I'm just projecting. Anyway, he wakes up Charlie, and they go outside to build a snowman together like a big, beautiful, happy Caucasian family. And just right before bed, Jack gives Charlie his special harmonica. He jokingly tells him the harmonica is magical and that if he plays it, he'll be able to hear it from anywhere he is all over the world, or anywhere in the world. We go all around the world. Anyway, the same night, he also promises Jack that he'll show up to his hockey game the next day. So that's not gonna happen. 10 minutes prior to that promise, he ended up getting a phone call that he was gonna have to go to a record recording studio to record a song because the radio really wanted his band to play the song on air live currently. I don't know how radios work. I don't know how radios work, but they want him to play the song on the radio. Anyway, the next day, of course, Jack doesn't show up to the hockey game because he was busy recording his song. And to make matters worse, them lost. I mean, they lost bad. I don't know how hockey scores work or how hard it is to score a goal, but it was like 8-0. And I was like, damn, that's tough. So not only they lost, but also Jack didn't show up. Charlie is feeling extra shitty today. To make up for the massive L he took for promising to go to the hockey game, he decided to take Christmas to the family cabin up in the mountains and promise that they'll just go out there, no TV, no phone, no video game, just him and the family having a good isolated Christmas where no one can hear you scream. What? The next day, they're packing up the car to go to said Christmas cabin until Jack gets another phone call from a big CEO who wants to have him perform his music at his big Christmas recording party. And you guessed it, he wants him to come on Christmas Day. He then sits down and has a conversation with Gabby, who is his wife, about the whole situation, but Charlie overhears said conversation and is is immediately bummed out and gives him back the harmonica. Just like, you don't deserve this chain. Sorry. And if Charlie's upset, Jack just assumes that it's okay for him to go to said recording party to make his big breakout hit. It is now officially Christmas Day, and Jack and his band are currently driving up to the estate to play at the party. Just when it hits Jack that this is bullshit and I'd rather be with my family, Jack tells his best friend, who is also his keyboardist, however the fuck you say it, that he'd rather be home for Christmas than to come here with the band and perform at the party. His best friend, who goes by Mac, agrees entirely because they don't even want to go to this fucking gig in the first place. They rather also stay home with their families for Christmas, because who the fuck would do that? Mac a real nigga for real. So instead of riding back together, Mac gives him the car keys so he can drive back home to the cabin so he can be with his family for Christmas. Sadly, Jack is driving in a very bad snowstorm. I mean bad as shit. He can't see a goddamn thing. And the windshield wipers on Mac's car aren't windshield wiping. They don't work for shit. And because of that, it's just trial and error until eventually he just can't see the road anymore. He ends up swerving and crashing off of a cliff. We then get a sad scene of like the Christmas cabin where Charlie and Gabby are just sitting into, and Charlie's just staring out the window all lonesome and sad with not the knowledge that his father just got into a car crash. We then get the most shocking reveal of all time that fucked me up when I watched this movie like a couple days ago. We get a time skip of 1 year later. When I tell you my jaw was on the floor that they just pulled this shit off, they were like, yeah, no, he's dead. He's been dead. He ain't coming back. I was like, whoa. Charlie is now extremely depressed because who wouldn't be? His present father just died. And because of this, he's not even partaking in the kid activities anymore that he used to do a couple years ago, or at least a year ago. So playing with his friends, snowball fighting, it's got to a point that even the bully don't fuck with him. And that's saying something. He goes home and tries to shovel snow out of the driveway for his mom, but like immediately starts seeing kids around the neighborhood be with their family, and he just fucking breaks down in the middle of the driveway. Kind of hard to watch. And I was like, I thought this was a Christmas movie that was happy. What the fuck is going on? Then his mom comes home and then they both just break down in the driveway. Later that night, he builds a snowman with some of his dad's old clothes that he found in the closet, like with the scarf and the hat, and was just like, you're my dad now. And then just goes to bed. He goes to bed and that's about it. It's what I would want to say. While he's in the bed, he ends up playing the harmonica so sadly and lonesomely that it ends up, drumroll please, transferring Jack's spirit into the snowman. This part right here is what fucked me up as a kid, because watching him come to life and start blinking and moving, you then get a funny sequence of Jack trying to figure out how to move as a snowman and like figure out that he is a snowman and is just wandering around aimlessly like a snowman. He even goes as to walking around downtown and just running into shit. Also, quick tidbit, Charlie's hockey coach is like the local town crazy person, and Jack ends up running into him downtown and he just flips the fuck out.
Sid? Sid Gronick? Sid, is that you? Sid, I've been hearing great things about you. Seriously, Sid, could you...
He gets back home just in the nick of time before the sun comes up and before Charlie wakes up. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he was attempting to talk to Charlie that same night by tapping on his window and trying to speak to him, and that freaked the fuck out of Charlie. So when the morning comes around, Charlie tries to approach Jack again, and Jack tries to communicate, and then it fails again. That leaving Charlie to just run away in fear. Because who the f would not run away in fear? You are a walking, talking, breathing snowman. Calling the police. Jack, feeling ashamed and humiliated that he couldn't reconnect with Charlie again, makes him feel like shit, so he goes after chasing Charlie. You can see how terrifying this could be for a child, right? Charlie ends up running into Rory. Real quick, the name of the bully is Rory, and also, that doesn't have a dad as well, but his dad has been absent forever. Yeah, Rory doesn't have a dad, and that's kind of like a big important plot point as well. Anyway, Rory wants revenge for the snowball fight that happened at the beginning of the film, but Charlie is just not in the mood to deal with this whole homosexual rigmarole.
So why don't you just say that? I mean, what the fuck? Every time I come over here, you always gotta take me through this homosexual rigmarole, man.
As Rory is hassling Charlie and everything, Jack is in the back of the trees watching all this shit happen and is like, no, my son is not about to get bullied. And I shit you not, he starts Gatling gunning snowballs at these kids. This gives enough Charlie time to run away, but he ends up at the edge of a cliff where he ends up slipping and falling and almost falling to his death. Luckily, Jack is at the bottom of said cliff and ends up catching him when he drops, but they're also on top of a sled, which now has them speeding down the fucking slope at God knows how fast, many miles per hour. I don't know how speed works. I failed that class. You then get this crazy X Games snowboarding montage of the bullies chasing after Charlie and Jack, and I like how in some parts you can tell that these are not kids and adults in these costumes, because they're also like doing flips and shit, which I was like, if I was in a chase, I wouldn't be doing flips and shit. I would just be focused on catching whoever I'm chasing, but hey, swag. Also, at one point, 2 kids are like crushed by 2 giant ass ice balls and they just die. I don't know if you know how snowballs work, or maybe avalanches, but when like a ball gets to a certain point of mass and volume, it's no longer soft and pillowy. It's a big ass block of ice. Imagine that between 2 kids in a Christmas movie. I can't make this shit up. They get away and Charlie ends up playing 21 questions with Jack to prove that it's really his dad. And like none of the questions land. Like that Jack gets them all wrong until he ends up calling Charlie Boy, which is a nickname he would call him when he was alive. That being enough evidence to Charlie that this is actually Jack, and so they end up having a nice warm embrace, even though he's a snowman. They finally end up having the father and son bonding time that they've been trying to have forever, and it's honestly a very wholesome moment of them playing hockey together at some abandoned cave. Where the f did this cave come from? Anyway, it's a very wholesome moment, but it ends up ending shortly when Jack ends up pressuring Charlie to be the man of the house and take care of himself, take care of his mom, take care of everybody around him, and that just overwhelms Charlie to the point to where he just runs away back home. Once Charlie is home, he gets convinced that he should go out to the Winter Festival with Matt. They ended up going together and watching the kids and the music and all the happy things going around. He ended up having a really sentimental moment at the festival of like talking about like what Charlie should do in his life, and he should follow his dreams the way Jack did with music and just be happier. The fact that that's what Jack would have wanted him to do. Also, quick FYI, Mac was there the night Jack came to life and Charlie was flipping the fuck out, but Mac was asleep the entire goddamn time. So thanks, Mac. What the f? But we love Mac. We love Mac. Mac is he's a really good family friend. We love him. And I think he's like a father figure to Charlie now that Jack is gone. So there's also that on top of that. Back to the story. We now go into the next day where it's now the last hockey game of the winter season. And ironically, Jack promised Charlie again, I don't know why he keeps doing this shit, that he's going to make it to this last game, even if it's his dying breath. Jack has no way to get there, so his genius idea is to strap their family dog to a sled and have him pull him to the hockey arena. Just a quick tidbit, 2 things. 1, their dog, not that big. And also 2, winter is like almost over, so the sun is fucking beating right now. And it is hot as a bitch, which means Jack does not have enough time left. Jack just somehow magically makes it to the hockey arena where he's able to watch Charlie perform something he calls the J shot. The J shot to score the final point of the game and have his team win. And the J shot is also something he taught Charlie that night. They was in the ice cave doing ice cave shit. So there you go. After the game, Charlie finds Jack damn near melting in the back of the ice rink and convinces him that the best way to save him is to take him to the Christmas mountain cabin where they go every Christmas because it's cold enough up there that he can stay alive. Jack is like, nah bro, I'm probably gonna die. Don't even worry about it. Just let me melt. And Charlie's like, that's not happening. He then runs to his mom at the bank, that's where she works, to tell her that, yo, dad is melting. We gotta take this back to the cabin because I want him to, he's melting. And of course she's like, what the f are you talking about? Quick tidbit, throughout the movie, Gabby notices Charlie spending so much time with this f***ing snowman and calling it father and dad. And now she's just like, oh my God, my f***ing son is crazy. At the beginning, she just chalked it up to, you know, his way of grieving and she thought it was fine and healthy, but now it's kind of a little excessive and she's just like, okay, my son needs help. Also, something I didn't add earlier, there's a sequence in the movie where Jack and Charlie are in the kitchen together trying to cool off and Gabby comes home, so he has to hide and move Jack around the kitchen to get him out of the house before Gabby notices. Anyway, that doesn't work because she's like, Charlie, shut the f up. That ends up not working, so he has to now figure something else out. But while he's figuring that out, Rory comes in and notices Charlie trying to smuggle Jack in the back of a truck.
Frost.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Rory proceeds to then harass Charlie again, but it makes Jack just a little upset to where he starts speaking in front of Rory, correcting him on his grammatical sentence mistakes or whatever the fuck.
Did you just say stupider? What kind of word is stupider?
Is it real?
Charlie breaks it down that his dad turned into a snowman and is now currently trying to get him up into the mountains so he can stay alive. For some reason, Rory's like, nah, I feel you, bro, and helps out Charlie to get Jack up to the mountains. What? I don't think you understand that if I was a kid and I saw another kid with a snowman, I went to go help said kid and that snowman started talking, I'm shitting my pants and I'm running away and I'm calling the police. Because that is a grown-ass man in a snowman costume. You are being abducted.
Listen to your heart. Don't be scared. Hey,
I digress. Rory helps out Charlie with Jack, so now Rory gets a big ass W. Once the truck is headed up to the mountains, Jack and Charlie hop off to go to the cabin. While they're there, Charlie ends up falling asleep and Jack ends up calling Gabby on the landline. Yes, the landline, saying, yo, Charlie is safe. He's here. Come pick this up. And of course, Gabby has already called the police because Charlie is currently missing and is freaking the out. But when she picks up the phone, she realizes that, oh my God, this sounds exactly like Jack, and is completely perplexed and just hangs up and drives up to the mountain alone. I would be bringing a gun because you're telling me my dead husband just called my phone telling me, yo, I got our child in our home cabin. Come pick this up. Are you kidding me? Where? Charlie wakes up and him and Jack end up having some final moments together, and Charlie officially accepts that his dad was right. He does need to step it up and be better for himself and be better for his mom, because grieving for him forever is not going to make him better and help him follow his dreams. As Jack is currently Mufasaing away in the wind, Gabby ends up pulling up in the car, seeing the final moments between Jack and Charlie. Before he fully fades away, his aura, mana, spirit thing, body, I don't know, his human self shows back up and he greets them and gives them love and just says, yo, I love y'all. I'll always be there for y'all. Dale. And then Jack slowly goes back to the afterlife. The screen fades to black and we now go back to the house where Matt is currently playing the piano on Christmas Day, while outside Charlie is playing with the other kids in the driveway, playing hockey and shit. And also something I didn't notice while watching this film that I noticed rewatching this film, Rory is also playing hockey with them in the driveway, and it's cute as fuck. And as the credits roll, the camera rolls through the neighborhood street, and you notice on every house's front lawn, each kid has built a snowman. So that way, on Christmas Day, the snowman can come to life and harass all of the children. I'm joking. It's cute. It's Jack Frost and the snowman and Kids Love Snowman and fucking, that's the movie. And that's Jack Frost. Rewatching it as an adult, I realized this movie was less terrifying and more emotionally taxing, because with the 1 year later time skip and the death of Jack and just the breakdown in the driveway, I completely was like, this is not the movie I thought it was. The small breaks of happiness, like the snowball fight and the snowboard chase, are really dope. But other than those two moments, this movie is sad as shit. There's also a horror movie version of this that came out later in the years, which I'm not really a big fan of, but this was fun. This was great. This was kind of like a short intermission for the new year. You guys have a phenomenal holiday season. Again, if this is coming out on the non-holiday season, I'm a lazy piece of shit. I don't know where I'm going with this. This has been dragged out a little too long. Merry Christmas.